So this is a question that I was asked this week by somebody that I teach, and I think it's a really, really useful thing to deal with. This is a video which is going to solve a way that it just stops you thinking, it just stops you producing material that just sounds a little bit too franglais. Do we know what we mean by franglais? It's the French-English equivalent of Spanglish. So Spanglish was a phrase that was used mainly in America, actually, about kind of a poor combination of English and Spanish rather than proper Spanish. And we don't want you sounding franglais. And franglais is a poor combination of English and obviously Francais, French. So this is a little video all about using they and he and names in sentences and questions in a way that's just going to be a little bit easier for you. Okay, so here's how it kind of works. So the first thing is, when you're conjugating verbs, you get very used to going je, tu, whatever, il, nous, vous, and we use all those words, and we get very used to, in the mouth, saying the subject, that's the person doing the verb, and then the verb. Okay? What we then struggle with is then when we then place words in the way. So, for example, if you say je le fais instead of je fais, that the brain goes, oh, I like je fais, I like tu manges, whatever. So where that really kicks in is when you've got to use a name instead of il or il, because logically, most of the time that you're talking in French, you are going to be using the name for something instead of il. So what this means is, for example, if you say je mange, tu manges, nous mangeons, vous mangez, you're always going to be saying those, okay? But when you say il mange, or, il est, or ils sont, or, whatever, there's times quite frequently where you're obviously going to be using a noun instead of the il. So, for example, instead of saying il est, you'll be saying the offices, le bureau est. Instead of saying il a, you'll say le bureau a. Instead of saying ils ont, you'll say the offices have, les bureaux ont. Okay, so you've got to be basically ready to go straight to your verb. So one of the things that I always recommend is when anybody's learning any verb, don't just go je, bre, tu, bre, il, bre, nous, bre, vous, bre, il, bre. Make sure that when you get to il singular or elle and il plural and or elle, that you swap it for name. So for example, you say je mange, tu manges, il mange, Luc mange, yeah, Daniel mange. Nous mangeons, vous mangez, il mange, Luc et Daniel mangent. So you get used to doing it with a they, with a name. And then try an object. So for example, if you go in the past, j'ai changé, tu as changé, il a changé, nous avons changé, vous avez changé, ils ont changé. All very well and good. But practice it with a noun. So j'ai changé, tu as changé, il a changé, le garçon a changé, nous avons changé, vous avons changé, ils ont changé, les garçons ont changé. Okay, so you're getting used to using a noun. Now, where this will really kick off is, most people can manage it with have, is when you start doing it with the verb to be. So, for example, il est allé, straight away, Luc est allé. Ils sont allés, Luc et Paul sont allés. Because finding that auxiliary be, when you're not coming from il, will be a push, okay? Next thing, the other patterns that we use. We use je me suis, tu, t'es, il, s'est already. I hope you would recognize this as the poetry past. Okay, so the poetry past is what happens when you stick reflexives and in the past. And I've done a big video on this, and if you can't find this, I will stick the link somewhere underneath. It's basically how you remember that if you are using a reflexive verb in the past, so se laver, for example, so you're washing yourself. If you say I washed myself, you're automatically in the past. So when you've got the past and you've got the reflexive, you need the poetry past system. That's reminding me to say je me suis, tu, t'es, il, s'est, nous, nous sommes, vous, vous êtes, ils, se sont, and then the past word. Okay? But what happens if, again, you're using a name? So, for example, if you said il s'est lavé, straight away practice with Luc. So what's a really good technique is to aim for the se. So for any reflexive verb, the he and the she, or any other noun, is going to be using se. So for example, il se lave, Luc se lave. Il se lavait, imperfect, Luc se lavait. Il s'est lavé, Luc s'est lavé. Il se lavera, he will get washed. Luc se lavera. So it's a really good trick to aim for the se. Now, this is really important in proper spoken French. So, for example, the situation improved, la situation s'est améliorée. You've got to aim for the se. Things reveal themselves, les choses se sont révélées. So it's a really useful trick to aim for the se. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is be very careful in French that we are a little bit more grammatically correct than we are in English sometimes when it comes to saying has and have. So single entities can be groups of plural people. So for example, in English, the government, there's one government, so the government has taken a decision. But people often go, well, the government, that's a group of people, so the government have taken a decision. Be really careful in French. It will not allow that. So le gouvernement a pris une décision. Okay. The couple have traveled the world. Really, the couple has traveled the world because it's a single couple. Yeah, le couple a voyagé. So this is something else to be careful of when we're dealing with they, etc. Now, my final thing dealing with they, which I think is really useful, is the main part of the video, is remembering when so for all I have said how important it is to be able to pop in nouns. So, dog, balls, pardon me, dogs, comma, balls, people, whatever, instead of just they and they. There are, however, times where it's really great to still use il and il, and I really want to push that. For example, if you said, what are Luke and Craig doing? Yeah, instead of saying qu'est-ce que Luke et Craig font, that just sounds a little bit franglais, okay? Qu'est-ce qu'ils font, Luke and Craig? Now, what are they doing, Luke and Craig? Or ils font quoi, Luke and Craig, okay? So when you've got, now this works great with a person, but you can also do it with, you're going to do it with an object as well. Elle est comment, ta table? Yeah, how is it, your table? Your table's ta table, elle est comment? No, what's it like? What time are your parents arriving? Okay. Tes parents, ils arrivent à quelle heure? Yeah, ou ils arriveront à quelle heure? So, or ils vont arriver à quelle heure? So it's a really nice trick to then either use the noun at the beginning or at the end and use il in your question still. This is particularly useful for verbs. So, for example, for all I've just said, the importance of using the pronoun, the noun with the sentences. So, for example, Luke got what time did Luke get washed this morning? Il s'est levé à quelle heure ce matin, Luke? Or Luke, il s'est levé à quelle heure? Rather, Luke s'est levé à quelle heure? Now, there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way. I just want you to be aware of this way, okay? Because sometimes questions can sound a bit franglais, okay? Do Maria and Sabrina want to eat? Est-ce que Maria et Sabrina veulent manger? Yeah, or est-ce qu'elles veulent manger, Maria, Sabrina? That's just nice. Remember, we can have elle as well as il. So I think that's a really, really, really useful thing for you to get into the habit of doing. I really, really do. And I think that rolls off the tongue a little bit more, okay? So in overview then, we've got make sure that you are comfortable with the third people in verbs. So that's the he, she, and the they form. Don't just learn them in your mouth coming off the back of il and il or elle and elle. You will obviously need to find the right one. And indeed, remember the soft and the hard business. Luke sells, Luke vend. Luke and Craig are selling, Luke and Craig vend. Yeah, the soft and hard will kick in. The other thing that we're talking about is remembering to find to aim for the se, to aim for the appropriate auxiliary verb. Okay. If we've got one as well. So Luke has spoken, Luke a parlé, Luke and Craig have spoken, Luke et Craig ont parlé. Okay. And the final thing I'm saying is to remember, for all we've said, that is on the opposite side of things, is be comfortable, particularly already using il, keeping il in. What time are Mark and Jonathan going to come? Ils vont venir à quelle heure, Mark et Jonathan? Okay. Lovely. Okay, guys, I hope this has been useful. Do please let me know if this rings a bell with you, if this seems to make sense. Can I remind you, I still have the special offer on the vocab podcasts for the foreseeable future, which are the vocab files with all the spoken vocab that the exam boards recommend for exams. Okay, take care.